Morning, fellow bass lunatics. Hope all is well. Um, I'm in good spirits. I have my coffee, obviously. I am still in the middle of long COVID treatment. So I was in the tank last night and it absolutely whacked me out when I came home and just went straight to sleep. So it's something like 5 o'clock in the morning, but I've been asleep since 8. So I've had a good night's sleep and I'm feeling well today. Certainly feeling a lot better than I was. But I wanted to talk to you today about a few things about lures, like color profile, and this idea of matching the hatch or not, or what you can do, what you can't do, what works and what doesn't work. Obviously, everybody has their own way of doing things, and whatever you have confidence in, I think if you have confidence in the lures that you're fishing, you just fish differently or something. You're more focused. You're not kind of constantly thinking, am I wasting my time here? You know, am I just throwing this thing into the abyss? Like, do bass actually exist, right? Um, so so it's important that you kind of are very familiar with your tackle and that you understand, it's not always possible to match the hatch, right? If you looked in September, I mean, the bait was so small that you couldn't match it, right? You just couldn't. And even if you did, I mean, I had tiny little silver spinners and little silver Westons, and not made no difference, right? I tried little spearhead Ryukis, no, made no difference, right? So what do you do, and what colors work? Well, like if you look at the Mad Eel 140, right? You get your really natural colors. Okay, so that's a lovely. I like stuff with gold and yellows. That's gonna just show lovely in clear water conditions. You look at the other color in it. I mean, have you ever seen a better imitation of like a baby, a small pollock or whatever? And I know from many years ago when I used to do a bit of live baiting, um, that bass just love to feed on small pollock, right? They absolutely annihilate them, right? Because I mean, imagine how much protein, is in a pollock compared to chasing little fry or crabs or whatever around, right? So if they think that's a pollock, so in clear water, uh, that's going to work an absolute treat, right? But those are big, those are 140s, right? So I tend to fish those. Uh, um, I tend to fish them later in the year, but I also tend to fish them from the boat. Fishing into deeper water, I think makes a big difference. With the Mad Eel, what I really like is they've taken a different approach. Um, Everybody looks for like a real thumper of a tail, but this is way more subtle, and I think sometimes less is more, right? No, sometimes you want a big tail and make a lot of noise, but other times you want something a bit more subtle. Like look at the sea wolf lures, the needles. What do they do? Well, they just very little. It's a very very subtle swimming action, but it totally switches the bass on, right? Um, so there's just two examples of kind of very natural type colors, right? Then you get into your less natural kind of stuff. What is it about chartreuse and bass? I have no idea, but they love it. So they obviously see it a very different way than we do, right? So that is the slingshot from Megabass. I mean, it's just a super duper with the coyote head, right? It's just a super lure. Like, I mean, like fished from the boat into current, the action of it is absolutely incredible. There's a great video of the guys from Ultimate um, fishing these off the coast of Normandy, and I mean, just absolutely hammering bass on them. But you know, in slightly murkier conditions, that's definitely going to give you an edge because it's got a bit of chartreuse. You can see here you get a slit underneath, so you can have no problem slotting in your rattle or whatever in there. Uh, so chartreuse or something a bit off the wall. Sometimes when the bass are, when I know they're there, if I'm seeing follows and stuff, they're following me up to the shore and they won't hit anything, I'll throw something in that I think will just annoy them. You know, I'll throw in a hot pink one-up shad or something like that, just to annoy them. I don't know, again, I don't know what it is about pink, right? They clearly see it differently than we do because it's incredibly successful. And particularly at night time, pink works very, very well for me. I mean, last season I basically fished two colours in the seawall floors. I fished white and I fished pink and red. Now, that's not to say they're the only colours to fish. No, black. Charles was beside me one night and he fishing black and he absolutely kicked my arse. You know, and I had no black needle, right? So I tend to stick to the long nose. He fishes the stubbies and he's absolutely kicked my arse on those, you know, so it just depends. So, but it matters, right? So color and profile really matter if you're new to lure fishing, right? But don't be put off by stuff that it doesn't all have to look natural. You know, what it has to do is catch fish, right? Like the Asturi 130, right? Awashi. I mean, that has been one of my, bit of seaweed just up on it there, has been one of my most successful top water lures this year. I just absolutely love this lure. It casts like a bullet. It has a super action. When bass come for it, they really come for it. They don't mess around. They just nail it. Now, that's only out of the box. I actually rigged them with singles because you do the fish a lot less damage, and you don't miss any hookup rates really. I don't think it decreases the number of fish that you catch, and certainly a lot easier to unhook and get back into the water in one piece. A great example of colour was we were fishing over a bunch of oyster trestles, and I had one of these, which is a Zenith Z Claw, but I had it in a colour called Clown, I think it is. It's got a little bit of chartreuse in the nose and blue on the back and a kind of a clear body or whatever. But what was happening was there was three of us fishing and the boat was on the drift, so we were obviously fishing with the wind behind us, casting that way and working the surface lures back towards the boat, right? And every cast, it was my Z Claw got nailed, and there were two perfectly good surface lures beside it, right? So why did they go for it? Well, that's just what they wanted that day, and then I lost it on the trestles. The two boys, Stevie Flynn, absolutely delighted they were. They were like, good stuff, we might catch a fish now. And the minute I changed over onto, I went onto I think I went onto a Chinko 125. What happened was we were coming onto groups of fish, right? And then when I was fishing the pachinko, everybody started hooking up, right? But so it just goes to show you that sometimes bass will get zoned in on something really, really particular, right? I mean, those, I'm going to have those, they're coming back out again, thank God, because that is just my all-time favourite sort of surface lure. If you tell me you can only have one hard lure in the world, I'd say as long as I give me enough colours, just give me the Zenith Z Claw and I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, absolutely super. Then you get into so your paddle tails. I wanted to show you these. These are the new Evo Sayori 2, right? Very glitzy. On a sunny day, that's going to really catch a lot of light. I think they're fantastic. They're really soft. They've got a big thumper of a tail, right? So that's on a 20 gram rolling head. So I'm going to be fishing that in pinch points, right, in estuary channels and stuff where it's really, really running, so I can get it down to where the bass are and stay in touch with the lure and what have you, and actually feel what's going on, not miss those takes. But those are really great value. I mean, they're cheap as chips. I'm actually probably, when I get the site running, I'll do a deal on those and the heads, if you know what I mean. I'll do X amount of lures in a packet and throw in a packet of heads for whatever price or whatever. And then we come to the really big stuff, right? So how big do we go? Like, I mean, it just goes to show you, right? I've caught loads of bass on that lure. That's the 175 flyer, right? Now, when I'm out fishing on the coast, and particularly from the boat, but also from the shore, I love lures that have either orange or red on the belly, because I think that when the bass are sat into the kelp and stuff, which is where they sit, right, they sit and just rest and they're digesting food or whatever they're doing, that going over their head, the orange flash, catches their attention and up they come for it, right? They can't help themselves. You know, that's why sardine red belly is such a popular colour in many of the tackle house lures. Now duo are gone very, very expensive, but those are going to be in the sale on opening day. I'm not sure when that's going to be, because we'll just hit some technical difficulties. But those really are, and particularly for surf fishermen. If you're into your surf fishing and you've got like a 12 to 42 gram rod, you know, 9 or 9'8", and you're leaving home without one of these, well, you're missing a trick. You know, you can cast those into the surf and almost fish them static. I mean, just pull them down and let them just run in the tide, and they will get absolutely smashed if the bass are switched on, right? So again, profile though, think about it, right? What's that look like? It looks like a lance, right? You know, it's the same size, same profile as the sand lance. If you really want to match the hatch, you know, you go supernatural, right? So that's the same lure, but just in a really kind of clear, natural colour. I can't remember the name of that colour, but I'll get it for you. But it's really, really, really nice, and on clean water conditions, that's gonna do. So you're fishing in a clean surf. So that's 175 millimeters, right? But then you go down and you'll catch bass on stuff like that, right? That's the small little dark sleeper, right? That's the 3-inch one. I mean, they'll absolutely murder that lure. Now, for me, in terms of finesse fishing, I think this is probably the best thing that's happened to finesse fishing in a long, long time. I mean, if you look at it in Donko and a couple of the other Real Goby and a couple of the Wakasaji, it just looks like a goby. You know, it's almost like an exact measure, and the way to fish them is to let them sink right down and then just wind them along the bottom and let them, because if you look at the bottom of it, the lure is designed in such a way that it will allow the lure to bounce along the bottom and not snag, and that's aided of course by the fact that the hook is hidden right in under the fin. So you can fish that through weeds, you can fish it over a rocky bottom. There's a couple of marks in Wexford where I fish it over rock ledges and I can feel it bouncing up. Now the problem you run into is is that your fluoro leader might get a bit chewed up, right? And if there's even the slightest nick in your fluoro, don't change it because it'll just snap and that'll be that. And you'll be like, oh my God, fish of a lifetime. It's always the big ones we lose, right? And the biggest fish I've ever caught are the ones I lost. um, so again, then, no need to go through it, right? That's just more of the same, matching the hatch, small little sand eel type baits, little sardines or little sand eels or whatever. Uh, these lures, I absolutely love these lures. I'm not sure why they're not as popular in Ireland. I think because they get a bit hammered after a couple of fish, but that's what makes them so good. So it's kind of the cost of it, if you know what I mean. They are made from soft plastic, they're not that hardy. Um, 4 or 5 bass and the lure is banjoed, but hey, I'll pay that to catch 4 or 5 fish, no problem. Now I do have a lure coming in from Patrick Sabile, who's just a legend in fishing generally, right? He's band of anglers, ocean born, you name it. Man, I've travelled the world fishing. I have a lure coming in from him, from this brand Hyperlastics, and I mean literally you could put your foot on the tail and stretch the thing up and it will not break. I mean, they're incredibly hardy. I think they're going to be popular with the kind of the people who like the let me show you. The Savage Gear or the Madness Mad Eel style lure. So that style of lure, except they're, way hardier, right? And they come in a smashing range of colours. So some very natural and then some very unnatural, if you like. Yeah, so that's it. Then it's down to how you present it, right? So you've got a number of options in terms of presentation, right? I really I really like to fish either offset hooks, slightly weighted or unweighted, right? Um, in truth, I do fish these decoys, but I prefer the decoy with screw, which is Mica whatever. Because I just think it gives your lure a bit more longevity or whatever. A little trick is, so if you're fishing them offset, right, and they get a bit shagged up here, right, they get a bit banjoed. What I do is I whip them off the offset and I put them onto a jig head and I just super glue them on, and there you go, there's your lure working again. It's just in different presentation, right? So you can fish stuff offset, or you can fish it on your all sorts of jig heads, right? A little 7 gram coyote, and I'll finish on this today. That color there, right, gold shiner, that's my favorite color of all in that lure, in the 1-up, in the 4.5 inch fat dew life. I mean, you just will not get, for me, that's one of the best lures available on the market. It's just incredible. I mean, the amount of fish we've caught on them is unreal. So that's it, guys, for this morning. I just wanted to talk a little bit about colour and profile, and how important they were or weren't. Um, do I try and match the hatch? Yes, as much as I can, definitely. Sometimes I know it's not possible and I do what I can. I fish a lot of hard lures in those situations, but I think we've talked for long enough this morning, nearly 20 minutes, so I don't want to bore the life out of you. So have a great day, everybody. We're coming really to the end of the season. Hopefully we'll get another chance at them. I'm sure some people are still catching. and I might get out over the weekend, maybe on Sunday for a few hours. So up until then, tight lines everybody, mind yourselves, and have a great day.